Welcome to homegrown gravel. This is a gravel adventure, not marketed as race, but it is in Georgia. It is in Franklin, Georgia, which is a little bit outside of Atlanta. We stayed in Noonan the day before and then drove on down. It's a little town, and they've got a lot of gravel out here. You can see on the left there, we actually have Ian Boswell in this race, former winner of Unbound, which is pretty cool. A little starstruck by that, but it is a cold start and it is a very humid start. There's a lot of fog. It's a little rain the day before, so the few creek crossings we do have are going to be deep, and that brings me to the route, which is pretty undulating. Plenty of elevation on this one, lots of gravel. There are creek crossings, there's a bunch of dogs, but it's a long race with a lot of gravel and some very technical sections too throughout. So we'll see how those play in effect. Lots of starters today. I think there was close to 100 starters in the 100, which checks out. But difference in tire choices and everything going on here. I can only fit like 45s in my bike, or so I thought at this point. And I've got the Schwalbe G1R on the front. You can see in front of me is Owen Clark here, which is amazing that he's in this race. He's recently off of a broken back from getting hit by a car, I think in November, but I think he had a surgery on that, and now he's back out in February at a race, which is kind of crazy. He's always one to look out for. He's done very well in World Cup mountain bike racing. Very good mountain bike racer. We continue on. They actually had to cut out a section at the beginning of this race because the river had risen and it was flooded, but we got onto the gravel eventually. And the race was going pretty quick. I wasn't that far up towards the front because I haven't done a gravel race in a while, and the last one I did do, I had a tumble and broke my collarbone, so I'm being a little bit more conservative. You can see from this guy over here, the bottles are rattling, and I actually did lose a bottle very early in this race. There was a creek crossing with a big pothole right beforehand, and my bottle just got absolutely ejected, which we'll talk about why that happened. The race broke down with some attacks. Nathan Surwick, also racing for the Black Bibs. We just caught him there. You can see Ian really pulled him back. I had heard that Ian hadn't really been training. Some people said they looked on the Strava and he'd only done like 5 to 7 hours, but this dude is very strong. And I think he's been skiing a bit too. Oh, the scat rider right in front of me there, trying to take a flyer. I think someone had gone off the front again. Maybe Nathan had gone off the front again there. And Scad Rider was trying to pull him back. That's Sam from Scad. And the race was pretty much like that the whole time. Flyers would go off the front, and then the group would just kind of pull them right back in. But the gravel was pretty fast. It's not too wet, not too soft, and there were some descents, but there was one section that we didn't get to pre-ride, and I was kind of concerned about that. It was pretty muddy, and we didn't want to get the van down there, so we actually just looked at it and never rode on it. So once we got to it in the race, it would be something that would be interesting to see. But Ian on the front here, pulling pretty hard. I think Scad Rider Sam had gone off the front at this point. There were some attacks, and I knew it was my turn to give it a little bit of a move also. My legs felt pretty good, so I had some momentum around the group here, and I just put in a soft exploration attack just to see if anybody would want to come with me. I knew I was a little marked. There are a lot of guys who know me in this race, but I am just a crit racer, so hoping maybe they don't think I can make it 100 miles. And we got to a technical section that I actually hadn't seen before. I knew there was a bridge on this section, so I was not too concerned about getting farther towards the front, but it was like a technical downhill, and I kind of got caught out on that part. So moving up on the outside on some of the stuff here, just panic moving up not being prepared for some of the sections, but I actually had a chance to attack again, so I went for another one. This one I stayed off for a little bit longer before I think Nathan joined me, and then we looked back and Ian was kind of bringing everybody back to us. I thought this was a nice, pretty fast attack. And then we got to the hard section. So a bunch of puddles and mud all over this part. Sam was off the front into this, and his teammate Andy Serrano actually was like on the front of the group, just kind of holding everybody back, doing what you should as a teammate, doing a little blocking. And I thought it'd be a good time to not be in the group with all the technical big potholes and stuff. Can't really see anything. And so I decided to send a little attack once I saw the group slowing down. So went around the outside here on a little flatter section, got a little bit of separation, and then just kept on the power. I went pretty hard for this section, trying to catch Sam up in the front. I think he maybe had a minute gap on us into this, and by the end of the stretch, once it got a little bit faster, I actually caught up to him. But I went hard for probably 4 or 5 minutes there, and noticed the group behind was doing some crazy stuff. I think there was a crash at one point back there, but luckily I stayed out of most of that. Eventually was caught by the group proper, but you can see Sam up here. And then Nathan did a counterattack, which was pretty good. We had kind of discussed working together, maybe not chasing each other, the medium work together strategy, but Boswell was pretty determined to keep it together, keep it fast. These gravel races are interesting because you can go a little bit harder and it seems to just be a negative race. We do still have Owen Clark here, Jura from Milligan, and then Ben, and then we have Boswell and Nathan Surwick. I think that is most of the front group. Yeah, so we end up with like a group of 5 or 6 after Ian sent a little semi-attack on an uphill. Nathan was eventually pulled back, and this whole part was really hard. The beginning of the race was just a little harder than I think anybody really anticipated it to be. We ended up with like 5 or 6 people, and Ian would just sit on the front during these uphills and keep the pace pretty high. I think everybody was just a little bit uncomfortable, which seems like the way gravel shakes down. And at this point, I actually was gonna get up and get onto his wheel, move next to him, and then I just decided to do a little sag climb on this one. Owen at one point dropped off the back of the group, which was pretty surprising to see. And he eventually caught back up and said he just had to pee, which was, we were going pretty hard, so I was amazed that he caught back on. I thought for sure he was a goner. There were some technical downhill sections like this here where big rocks, I wasn't super comfortable going down the downhill super fast, so I would usually let a gap open like this. The payout is 6 deep at this race with $5 grand for the men and the women's race, so 10K total prize purse, which is pretty big. Coming into this 80-mile aid station, I'd only had 2 bottles. That first creek crossing actually broke my water bottle cage on the seat tube, so I lost that 1 bottle and then had to pocket another bottle for the 37-mile aid station. So I am 2 bottles into this race right now, 80 miles in. Luckily, it was kind of cooler, so I could get away with that. But my plan was around 110 grams of carbs per hour. So losing a bottle, I was down about 90 grams on that whole scheme. But got another one from Sierra's dad, Jeff Sims here, which was really nice. He had a banana that he was going to hand up to me, but that thing looked brown and beat, so I did not grab it. Also, we were going fast, so I could only grab the 1 bottle. Luckily, had enough to make it through the whole race, and at the 80-mile aid station, it turned into a lot more pavement for the rest of the race. There was a long pavement stretch, and then we obviously had that last river-flooded section at the beginning, also cut out at the end. But the race really didn't get that much more dynamic for the rest of the way. We had some little attacks. One in particular, Ian Boswell there at the front, he did his pull and then rotated back, and Nathan and I were right there, and I think he could tell Nathan and I were working together. He pointed at both of us and then smacked his butt, saying he was going to attack effectively, and he did, but it was one of those attacks where I think all of our legs were a little tired, and we didn't really get enough separation at the beginning. It was a little bit too fast of a section. So the group was just right there. And he looked at me, he said, that didn't work. And it did not. But we were continuing to race through these gravel parts, making some catches on some of the other races, and coming through a lot of this chunky gravel stuff. Luckily, I don't think anybody in our group got a flat, and I was happy not to get a flat. Also, I had, that new Schwalbe G1R on the front. I think it was running 32 PSI, roughly. And coming into the finish, we had gone pretty easy into this last little part. I was actually on the front into the last pavement part, knowing I had one of the better sprints in the group, being everybody else was gravel or mountain bike racers, so I was somewhat confident in my sprint. Everybody seemed like they were a little tired, and my legs felt all right. We have a left-hand turn up here, so I'm okay sitting on the front doing 1 to 0 watts and letting someone else attack into it. But there was this construction on the bridge here, so I'm just really pinning it to the right, making sure if anybody does attack, they're going on the left there. Maybe not the best move because it's a left-hand corner, so I should have probably guarded the inside and do a little less, but I didn't really have a great idea of where the start finish was going to be. Coming around this last turn, I didn't really scope it out enough. So we come into this left-hand bend up here, and Nathan on my inside here starts his sprint. He didn't really get much gap, but he just kicked it up this hill. I didn't realize how quickly the start finish was going to come up. And so I started my sprint also, but Owen launched much harder than me on the inside, and I just didn't have enough real estate to catch back up to him. So Owen Clark with the recovery from injury, first race back with the win. I got second, and then Ben there in third. Pretty fun race. Thanks for watching. Thank you to Homegrown for having us out. Definitely go check them out next year. See ya.